Hey there, Super Squad. Erin Wiggers from BridgeRev joined us at the Surge. She shared how you can do events like a boss using Supered. She showed us how she built out the back end of the system, gave out tooltips so that the developers know what modules to use so that you can customize that experience. Very cool stuff. She even shared some of those amazing tips on how you can build your Super portal out to be even more modular and make it work for you. We also heard from Matt. He shared some insight into what journeys are starting to look like and how you can get your hands on them in the beta. All right, let's get started. It's 12:02. Welcome to the Surge, everybody. We've got Erin Wiggers from BridgeRev and her superhero self right on my screen. She's going to be sharing how to do events like a boss using Supered. I'm very excited for this. So if you got any questions, share those in the chat. Lindsay Smith's going to be helping out. Keep an eye on those. Erin, welcome to the Surge.
Awesome. Yeah. Thanks, y'all. Thanks so much for having me. Let me share my screen here. Make sure I share the right one. Awesome.
There we go.
Let me get my...
Appreciate you hopping on and sharing all of this with us.
Oh, of course. This is like my favorite thing to do is nerd out about this kind of stuff. So I appreciate the opportunity to have an audience to be nerdy with. I am going to start, actually, I can do this in the portal. So let me start with a little introduction to me. So my name is Erin. I have been coding specifically for HubSpot for over 10 years now. I have been a full stack developer for the last 7 of those years, and I have been in leadership at Elite Partners for the last 3 of those years. So I get to do a lot of really, really cool stuff working with an Elite Solutions partner. I get to build just really, really, really dope stuff. That's why I have the sign behind me. My wife got it for me because apparently I say it a lot while I'm working and didn't really notice it. But she was like, that's your catchphrase. So I love what I do, and I'm super excited to be here to kind of share all of this with you. So jumping into kind of what we're going to go through today. This is what we're calling Event Hub, and the name is kind of TBD. We would love to work in a bridge somehow, but for now we're going to call it Event Hub. And so this is an event management platform that's it's built completely in the HubSpot platform, so seamlessly integrates with all of your CRM. And as you can see here, it pretty much utilizes every bit of every hub that you can possibly imagine. And so we'll see kind of how all of that works together to create this user experience. And then I'm going to also show you a little bit about the back end and then how Supered really helps us maintain this kind of huge infrastructure and spin it up quickly for new clients. We have a couple of clients that are rolling out something like this that we've kind of customized for their business in the next several weeks. So I'm super excited to just kind of get this out in the world and into the universe and see what people think. So let's jump into kind of how this is all built. So there are a couple of, we're going to use the contact property number 1 because the contact property is pretty easy for me to pull properties off of on the front end using HubSpot's templating language, which is Hubble. Hubble is my favorite language. And so I like to do just about everything in that. And it actually makes anything with data on the front end much easier if you're using Hubble to kind of pull that data and manipulate it, because then you're not waiting on JavaScript, you're not slowing down the page in those ways. So the rest of these kind of green objects here are custom objects. So the events, obviously, those are going to be what people attend. Any recurring events are called series. those series can then roll up into a calendar. So all of these all of these objects can be related. Members is going to be an object that we use to kind of mirror the contact, so that we can do things like have the page be public, because there are some limitations to what you can do with contacts on the front end if it's not behind a membership wall. So we have this membership object or member object to kind of get around that. And then we also have speakers. So as you can see, we have a lot of layers of associations here with the events, the speakers and members. Speakers can also be members, and all of this. So all of this is really tied together with HubSpot associations. Then the next piece of this we'll get into is the CMS side. So the CMS side is really my favorite thing. And one thing that Supered has allowed me to do with the CMS is put my documentation directly in the page editor, which has just been mind-blowing for me because usually I'm doing a lot of context switching between, a document or a ClickUp document or the page itself. And so it's kind of difficult to really get the hang of certain things in the CMS without that. And so let me show you kind of what this all looks like. So this is our event hub. We have, it's put together in the drag and drop. It also has some kind of baked in functionality where this can be restyled, moved around. We also have all of these custom modules in here that make everything super customizable. So as you can see, and in this, it's assuming that we're in a tablet view now, so that's why it kind of changed styles. But so these orange guys over here, I'm sure y'all are familiar with, but these allow us to kind of see the documentation. There we go. For the different modules. So if you are getting ready to do something and you want to know more information about how that module works, what the options are, all of that is kind of baked in. And what's even better is we can go back one further to the actual design manager. And so when I assign things to my developers and I need them to go in and work with some of my serverless functions or anything like that, I can also put documentation right there for them that allows them to see exactly what's happening. So in this serverless function specifically, it tells you exactly what everything is coming from and what it does and what the options are. So that you know how to kind of manipulate this. So having the ability to put documentation into the HubSpot UI has really just changed the game for us at BridgeRev for sure. And I think anyone would agree that it's a much better experience than trying to like click around in a bunch of different places to get the same information.
Yeah, trying to share those docs between the different teams and having different language by the team that you're talking to. You're going to talk to a developer a little differently than you're going to talk to a marketer or salesperson. So I love that the context is there for them.
For sure, for sure. Yeah, and you can be as specific and as granular as you want. One thing that I'm working on getting added to some of these is being able to add just looms of how to work certain modules that kind of require a little more explaining. And so with these cards, you can just drop in an actual video and they could watch it, in the interface while you're working on the actual site. So it's just awesome. So awesome. Can't even explain how awesome it really is. So to look at some of the other functionality here, a lot of what you'll see.
Question, Erin.
Oh, sure.
What did you do and how did you solve this problem before Super? What did it look like?
It was a lot of Google Docs that no one but me read, to be completely honest. It was a lot of me putting as much information into a Google Doc that I then ended up answering via email anyway. So nothing has ever been as efficient as this, to be honest.
So just to help me understand, because I've never thought of this use case ever. So this is the first time I've thought about this. You're doing something
Oh, no
in my
way.
mind, new.
Yeah. Okay.
Um, so so I just to help me I really don't understand the implications. So
Okay.
you had Google Docs that you were putting because you had these modules you needed other team members to make changes to. How
Mhm.
much faster or how many questions, like how much time have you saved? How has your team been affected? Like very specifically because of what I just saw. We all just saw.
I think uh hugely for now and like infinitely as we move forward, because we're kind of rolling this out and trying to make the documentation as robust as possible, kind of like one product at a time that we're doing. So as we get more and more people on our team who are working in these products, I think we're just going to see the productivity just skyrocket, because all the things that we would normally have to do some kind of like even onboarding for, to even show them where to find in the documentation what, how to update this module, how to create a new event, anything like that, to even get them started. So for example, this create event module is pretty complex. It does things like pulls in the time zone automatically. It has pickers for the start dates and times. It has a type ahead for the speaker choice. So there's a lot going on in this module that would take a lot of explaining, except that I can just put it in the documentation so that when one of my developers goes to edit the module, and sees it kind of in the native place where they would be looking at the module anyway, they can get right into, what the JavaScript does, what exactly is happening, what the serverless endpoint is, and things like that. So it's the ability to go from well, I hope I can have screenshots that show them where this is in the module, to can try to be one-to-one in the Google Doc, versus you can just click here as you're looking at the module, which is just a hugely different experience for whoever's utilizing it.
Perfect.
That's really
Thank you. This
awesome.
is
Yeah. I think you're blowing everybody's mind with something just so simple, and something you just took a little bit for granted, no offense, but you're taking your brain power for granted. Share it.
For sure, for sure. Yeah, this is one of my favorite things about Supered, for sure. There's a couple of other things that I really want to get into that I love a lot, that require some workflows. So we talked a little bit about kind of what all was going to be involved in this. And so calculated properties and workflows are two things that kind of do some of the back end magic. And so things like one of the main things that we do is, let's see, this storing IDs on a certain object. So this is a little trick that I've picked up in doing a lot of front end work with a lot of data. One problem that you run into is calling the API so many times, especially with something like events that have related members and related series and associated calendars. All those kind of associations start stacking up. And so then you hit the ceiling on your API limit a lot quicker. And so one way that we get around this, and that Supered has helped me immensely, because I use this all the time, is the ability to copy a workflow just like this, where all you say is, if there is a new association, run this code to take the ID and just put it on a property. So that instead of calling every single associated object for this event, I can just call that event and get all of the IDs that I need through that property. So it's a little in the weeds on developer stuff, but basically this allows me to not have to call the API a million times. This allows me to do things much more efficiently on the front end so that we can even pre-render data and your page is just lightning fast. And so what I've done with this is I have it saved as a Supered asset, and I can just deploy it to any any portal that I need this functionality, where I need to know if there's an associated object, and if it's associated, I just need to put the ID somewhere. So it sounds really simple, but it has such a huge impact. And then we can also have the documentation right in here as well. So that has been super impactful just in how we're able to render things on the front end. Because typically, I mean, we're paginating this, but so we have like nine total pages. But each one of these has like a pretty large image. And so we're doing a lot of stuff to optimize the data so that we're not sitting here waiting all day for the page to load. Some of the other cool things that happen here with the custom properties, or with the calculated properties, I did want to show this really quick. So just to demo some of this functionality here, you can save any event, and then once you've saved it, it'll always show up under yours, so you can find it again. If you go to the event details and you say, hey, I'm going to go to this, let me refresh, make sure it worked. Oh, here we go. So once you say that you're going to an event, it'll pull in your membership record. I have like a very basic kind of profile set up where I can change my name or my picture. And then that's what shows up here anytime you get associated. So what happens when you on the front end click, I'm going to this, sorry for the whiplash. Let me find the right tab.
That's okay. There's a lot going on. So
right.
just the behind the scenes, it's fine.
I think it is this one. Oh, perfect. So you'll see I have this little notification here that capacity is reached. So I have two different properties here. One is just capacity, and it can be any number. I set it to 1 so that I could show this kind of process rule here. But if you wanted to cap the number of people who come to your event, you could definitely do that just by having these two separate properties, one for capacity, and then one that is a calculated number of associated members. So however many members are associated to the event as they're going to be a guest at the event. You compare those two numbers. If they are equal or one is greater, then you'll know that you've reached capacity. So I have that set up here in lovely Supered, so that you can easily just tell whoever's managing the event, hey, we're at capacity. Maybe you want to trigger some additional information or additional workflows that maybe sends an email that, hey, this event has reached capacity, register now for the next event, or something like that. You could definitely do that through this kind of process. So that was one just really cool thing that I love about Super, to be able to just like show important messages immediately rather than having to, because we all know that digging through this information can get a little daunting. So being able to just like have a call out right there is super helpful as well.
That's a great, that as an event organizer, a lot of times that is something very appreciated.
For sure, for sure. Cool. Let me see what else we've got here that I wanted to make sure we show. Oh, I can show you all this kind of walk through the user story. So there's a bunch of touch points here. I won't go through and show you the actual emails and stuff, but we do have workflows set up for kind of all of these different touch points. And the idea is, a user is going to come to your website. They want to be able to easily search, filter, and sort. They want to be able to save what they want to go to, add things to their calendar, RSVP. And so what we've done is created this event portal that really gives them the ability to do all those things. And then once they have registered for an event, we'll send them a registration confirmation. And that happens through the association of the user to the event. We'll also send an event reminder. So that's just on a delay until, a certain amount of time before the event. Once they are an attendee, we do have an integration with Zoom that will send back attendee information. So then you can report against, who signed up versus who actually attended. And then it also has a follow-up email. The portal itself, you can become a member and then you can create your own events, create your own series, your own calendars, and all that is handled through this front-end form. So I'll actually show you that you won't see the form if
So you're handling all those memberships based on those on the object that you created and whether they have the event tied to them.
Correct. So there's a couple of layers to this, to the membership access in order to make the page public. And so here you'll see I have a bunch of logic in here that's based on whether or not I'm a logged in user. So right now you're seeing the login, whereas on this other screen here, it's got my account. And here I have the create event. So you can have different levels of access, like only certain members can create events or only certain admins can edit the events that have been created. But all that can be controlled here in this front end form. You can add a new calendar if you wanted to add a calendar. You can also add new speakers, which will, and both of these will add new custom objects to the CRM and then associate everything. So one thing that this is also doing is giving admins an interface that's a little more intuitive to be able to do a lot of things at once. So to be able to create the event, and especially if it's a series. So like instead of having to go in and create the next 20 events for a weekly event, you can just create the series, tell it when you want it to start and stop, and then it will create all of those individual events automatically. And so, and it'll also, associate all those things. And it just takes a lot of the legwork. One of the things I hate about trying to associate things in the HubSpot backend is not being able to just like pick, you kind of have to like think out of your head, like, okay, what's the name of the series that I want to add? So being able to just like see a whole bunch at once is also super helpful. Let's see. So we've also got sorting and filtering. That's all pretty standard, but your users are going to want to be able to see the events that are most relevant to them. And that's why we also have, a quick jump to see your events. We've also got a search that will kind of narrow down anything. The calendar itself can be expanded and we can see events kind of in a different way, but also still pull this up and register as going or not. So it's a very flexible front end interface, and it's doing a ton of work on the back end. And so next, I'm going to jump into my absolute favorite part of this, which is how easy this is to roll out to any other portal thanks to Supered.
Reading my mind, Erin.
Right. So we have a package for Event Hub. And this is going to blow your mind when you see how much this package includes. So it's got all of the cards that you need for documentation. So that includes everything for Event Hub, but also everything for our Bridge Core theme, which includes the Pro version and then Enterprise. All of our Bridge Core Enterprise modules require custom objects. So those have a different set of documentation. And so all of that documentation is there for you, all of the fields that you need. So all of these that I was using as to trigger the workflows, things like that. Those all get rolled up. All of my custom objects, all of my associations, which as we've talked about was driving a huge amount of the user interaction. Any forms, all of the emails, so anything that we saw in that user story, the lists that give access to different parts of the page, all of the workflows, including, the ones with the custom coded actions. I think that still blows my mind that you can just copy them. It makes my life so much easier. It feels like it shouldn't be a thing. But it is, and thank you, Supered. Also, reports, dashboard, those views. So it's really easy to go in and see the custom properties that we've added and kind of get the most relevant information right off the bat. And so all of this you can deploy with a click to any portal, and things that would like this, realistically, I would probably give my team 20 to 30 hours just for the setup alone. Prior to Supered, and now this can be done by a single person in an afternoon. It's mind-blowing. Yeah, it makes rolling this out really easy, and it gives us time to then focus on, okay, how can we customize this for the customer, for our client? Because we've got so much of this legwork that we can just kind of plug in, we can spend our time on more valuable parts of the project itself. And so the value that we're able to add after the fact is so far and away above what we could have been able to offer in the same amount of time without Supered, which, it's just been, it's made a huge impact on how we deliver services at BridgeRev.
Are you finding that when you're creating these standardizations that you're able to get more creative with the standardization? So does it grow as you create more and more of these packages?
Yeah, absolutely. This is already 2.0 because
Right.
it's every time I nail something down, and I have that extra bit of room for creativity, I'll want to add, something else and then something else. So I feel like it's going to be an iterative process from here on out, that we're just able to continually build on something that's already pretty awesome, and we'll be able to, roll out if somebody in one portal gets an update, that needs to be rolled out to everyone. We can do that either through the CLI or through Supered, depending on what the update is. And so it gives us a lot more flexibility to, bug fix really quickly. It gives us the ability to, install and get up and rolling quickly. Just tons of benefits to how this is set up.
I can see Matt over there itching to want to say something. Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah. I just maybe I'm going to emphasize this point is HubSpot will start making some things an API, they will start building APIs. So there will be an API eventually for workflows. The difference in was Supered, what's difficult to communicate, and I think over time, Erin, you're doing it, you saw it very quickly, is you're going to build something inside of a customer's portal that's customized that you don't want to have to go build code for afterwards. And it's this increases development cycle not linearly, but multiplicatively. And you're able to, and that's that like, if you have a product you're building, it is actually easier. This is like a no code develop. Like you can even have one of your teammates build a second event hub that doesn't know how to write code. So it's like
Right.
they know how to build HubSpot. So it's just like it changes fundamentally. Your knowledge of HubSpot now becomes a competitive advantage because you can create IP like this. So I just
Exactly.
like you said it there. I just want to make sure like this is that's part of the dream as we're making this
Sure.
is allowing people to have shorter dev cycles quicker. So
100%. Yeah. And I have like preached to my team since we started using Supered more, like always be thinking modularly and like how can we even package up parts of what we're doing to increase efficiencies down the road. And so I think it's been a really cool exercise for everyone to kind of put that like optimization hat on of like, okay, because honestly, this is like one of the reasons I became a developer is because I don't like to do things more than once. And so like Super gives me the ability to like do it once in one place and then carry it over and then, you know, carry it over and keep building on that and not having to start over, reinvent the wheel, start from scratch, anything like that.
I love
I
that.
have a question, Erin, as you're doing this, you're doing Event Hub too. How have you used Super to, so you use case of internal people building out CMS. Um, you then showed a use case of delivering it to clients.
Mhm.
Maybe you're getting to it, but is how do you use Super to train about how to use Event Hub post deployment?
Right. So, yeah, that is kind of the focus of another set of cards here on getting started. And so all of those cards are kind of buried in where I think the user would be looking for them usually. So if I look at objects, my custom objects shows my data architecture so that anyone coming to like look for anything about custom objects, like I'm trying to put that information where I think they're going to actually look for it. So that's been really helpful. And then for all of my custom objects, I can put directly in the UI, like this is what this one is for. This is how you use it. And then it's easily accessible. And I think that's the biggest part of it. It's not even that you have to do training as long as you can like kind of give them the like send them down the road of like okay we put documentation in these places if you have questions like let us know and most people don't have a ton like what we kind of cover just in the like handoff like they're able to maintain the code and maintain the events and maintain um, the whole process kind of without us without a whole lot of like hands-on which has been really nice.
That's great. I love how you're training them to train themselves and you're
Right.
giving them a way to get started doing that and walking them through that whole path and,
Exactly.
creating it with them.
Exactly. I think that's kind of how I learned HubSpot back in the day of like before we had tons of great documentation and then the API guides and all of that stuff. It was a lot of just like getting into the portal and doing stuff and trying to figure it out. And so I think being able to put these little guys wherever I know I would have looked for that answer.
Stay awesome.
Um,
Stacy.
yeah,
That's
so yeah, it's been really cool. Yeah,
You were
any other
you were
questions?
starting to walk us through the implementation part when we were talking about that when you were going to deliver the package. Did you want to go through any of those other parts and pieces?
Let's see. For I think for the rollout, it's really just kind of pushing a button. So not,
He
oh, the
doesn't like
update.
pushing buttons.
Right, right. I did forget to mention that I do have this like kind of welcome message that will pop up when you first get going in Event Hub. So um this will be where kind of more of those cards are linked for getting started, like create your own event and all that. And it's also got some HubDB components that are documented in here as well.
I'm gonna ask
Um,
questions about the update so we understand. I make sure I
oh yeah.
understand because I think this is a powerful. We're seeing more and more people use this. So you put inside of a package, you're using an update.
Mhm.
You'll probably have more updates here.
Right.
You can take an update and you can specify which URL it shows on. So when
Mhm.
they come to it, it tells somebody what to do and put even timeframes.
Right.
So is that how you're intent? Like I'm assuming that's how you're intending to use it. It's like,
Right.
hey, when you hit, and it'll almost lead people through with
Exactly.
like how to guys. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah, this one is kind of just the basic, like, hey, this is the first time you've logged into your Event Hub since it's been installed. Like, get to know what you're
Mhm.
kind of looking at. But then as we kind of, as I said, build on what we already have, we want to roll out updates to be able to kind of push those out to different portals and keep bug fixes nice and clean, like keep all of that. Keep the client up to date on what has been done without them really needing to have to, you know, check in on us via email, or like we can kind of, like I said, just put everything right in front of them where they're already going to be. I think that just makes everything in life so much easier.
No, no hunting down things that you might possibly need or that you didn't know you
Right.
needed to know.
Right. 100%. 100%. Um, but yeah, I think that covers just about everything with that I had on my agenda. So if we want to turn it over for more questions, or if there are certain things that y'all want to see,
Yeah.
um, yeah, just let me know.
Put those questions in the chat if you've got them, or hop on and ask Erin, because I know she showed a lot. There was a lot in there. You saw the package, it scrolled. There were multiple pages of scroll on that package. So there's a lot of parts and pieces to, creating the events and how the events are put together in the back end. Let's see, Colton says, how do you keep your supered organized? That's a great question.
That is a really good question. One thing that I keep coming back to is just modularity. Can y'all still see that?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. So one of the reasons that my cards are kind of separated into the Bridge Core theme, Bridge Core Enterprise, and then Event Hub is because the more modular it is, the more I can kind of package it in different ways. And so it ends up being something that's more like a stackable thing. Like I can give them this documentation and this documentation and this documentation. And so I can make things, it's almost like a menu that I'm just kind of like building based on, what the scope is, what the deliverables are. And so having everything be super modular and then using naming conventions or folder structures that are similar kind of across the board, so that as you get into the different structures, you kind of know what to expect. And so I usually try to break it into the different hubs, and then usually anything about the data model, like how it's set up, anything I would put in Canva, I typically put here. So there's a lot of that. And then, yeah, I don't know if y'all have seen how these are triggered in the front end, but all of these that are linked just have these triggers so that I can, this is how I can kind of control where in the UI that they see it. And so I try to be as specific as possible so that they don't get fatigue, I guess, of like seeing all the different notifications and what things are. So I try to put page restrictions on things, and so that they know it's not only triggered off of this word, but this word in this context, because I think that makes the documentation a little more specific and hopefully relevant to what they're looking at.
That's a really great way to put it, is giving them context that's relevant. Giving information is awesome, but if it's not relevant, then people are going to ignore it. And you said it exactly. They're going to be fatigued by being served content constantly in their face. So
Right.
love that. Awesome.
I
Any
have a
other
question.
questions? Oh, go ahead.
As you started building this out,
Mhm.
how did it, or did it, I guess, impact conversations around like cost and price of what you're providing for your clients?
For sure, for sure. So at BridgeRev, we've always kind of had more of a value-based pricing model anyway. And so it's never been so much of like, how many hours does this take? It's more of like what value is this providing? And so by adding Supered, it really just kind of amplified the conversation of like, yeah, this was valuable before, but like now this is like like incredibly valuable. This is something that someone could just plug in and have their own, event community within a week or so. Give or take some customizations, but yeah, so I think it helped us a lot that we weren't already kind of in the weeds on like hours and manpower to spin things up. But it has still been a huge conversation changer in that, we're offering something that people can just kind of take and run with now, and it's not sometimes when you get into these big engagements with agencies, there's this fear, like a very valid fear that you're then going to be kind of handcuffed to that agency because they know the code that they built for you or anything like that. And I have just always been very opposed to that because I don't want people. I don't ever want people to not be able to do what they want to do because I didn't set them up to do it. So I always try to put, controls in the modules and things like that. But even that doesn't get you to the point of, you know, in-app documentation, in-app guidance through process rules. Like nothing quite wrote, like even though we were kind of chipping away at this direction, like nothing quite rose to this level. And so we're still kind of trying to wrap our heads around like what that looks like in the long term. But for now, we're just like super excited about the value that it offers.
Yeah, like so yeah, time to value is huge. You don't have to wait 3 months to use anything that's being built out for you. Appreciate it. Yeah, for sure.
The ability to like immediately see something tangible in your portal, like that's one thing. Being at an agency where there's kind of a little bit of a ramp up of like discovery and things like that, we can immediately get started and say like, all right, here's what we have so far, here are your options for next steps. And it's a much more exciting process, I think, for clients too, to be able to be like more involved in the process. And that's something we can give them because we're not so bogged down in some of the nitty-gritty building pieces of it anymore.
That makes sense.
Can I add something in there real quick too?
Sure.
Yeah.
One of the most common objections I got as a CAM working with partners like on deals is I don't want to pay for software for 3, 6, 12 months before I can use it. So like time to value, like it really is that important. If your client's not telling you I don't want to pay 3, 6, 12 months for HubSpot before I can use it, they don't tell you it, they're definitely thinking it.
Right.
So it's not like HubSpot's cheap. So like time to value really is that big when you could say you can start using your investment, and even if it takes a month, that's still way faster than you could do it before. And that's way faster that a client can start getting ROI and the impact and not send you frustrated emails saying, hey, we've been paying you for 6 months and we can't use our system yet. What's going on? So
Right.
it really is that huge.
For sure. Yeah, it reduces a ton of that friction of like, all right, clock's ticking. We're already paying a monthly HubSpot bill. Like, what are we doing here?
Agreed. Agreed. All right. Erin, that was awesome. I enjoyed it. I like events, so I got a little
Yes.
soft spot in my heart for it. So I
Thank you
appreciate
so
you
much for
running through
having
all.
me.
Yeah, no, appreciate it.
Of
Um,
course.
I know we've got some features that have come out recently that Matt would love to share. So I'm going to open the floor to him. But if you do have any other questions, we will take some time at the end if we need to, and we will get those over if we run out of time. Matt, take it away.
Yes. Yes. Let's do it. So I just want to say, as part of, I will be doing a go-to-market for how to run a partner, how to go to market as a HubSpot partner. It'll be coming up in the next couple of weeks. You'll see stuff coming up, and we'll go over a lot of how pricing, how you do value based, and you'll see all my opinions are baked into Supered. So if you're like, what does Matt think? You'll see this. One of the things I think is really important is time to value must be happening very quickly, quick wins. And the larger you can do, people should pay you for the value you create. And to get retainers, it's all about providing reoccurring impact. Reoccurring impact. How do you do that? You must be in their HubSpot, teaching them what to do over and over again. It is so valuable to just have Supered can be part of a retainer. We're building it in such a way and continue to build features that it should be included in part of your sales cycle and your delivery cycle that's built a part of retainers. And if you don't do that, you will just, there are other people that are. I don't know to say it. There are other people that will. So we're trying, this is the next generation of HubSpot partners. So my opinions are built in it, and I'll talk to you about why I think these things. And if you differ and think we should build something else, tell me, because we probably will, if it makes sense. Okay, so let's go to some of these new features that have come out since we're talking. I'm going to share my screen. I often don't know what's on my screen. I like to just go try to be okay. So number one, we are getting ready for the biggest release that will change. I don't want to say anything too big because I get pretty excited about things. We are going to release something that will destroy, I'll say destroy, it will whatever word you're going to use here, destroy the modern conception of LMSs. You probably already seen it happening, but this is the flagship product for partners to deliver and for end users to have. So I'll talk about that in a second. A lot of these things that we're doing today was all setting up. We are now actively building it, calling journeys. Heard me talk about it before, but here. Let's talk about things we've done. Number one, by the way, I have Supered working on Supered. If you ever want to do that, it's easy. Number one, we've redone the Chrome extension. Why did we redo the Chrome extension? Look at it. What changed? Left side is now a bar. A few things fundamentally. We can open it up wide. Why would I want to open it up wide? So we'll talk about that when we talk about journeys. But the ability, we are moving to a Chrome extension first, where you can create cards from the Chrome extension, where you can create experiences using the Chrome extension. And so that's what we're moving towards. And so you see it, that's part of the redesign that has occurred. The next thing that has, and you'll see this across, you'll see this. We also now have a new portion where we have something called, we have white labeling. What we've added to partner settings is this custom UI block. And so you can now in-app and in the Chrome extension have personalized messages, hellos, how to get started directly in. And we'll continue to build this out, perhaps even homepage, whatever we need, we'll continue to build this out. This is specifically very useful because we have people in Japan or non-native English languages that don't yet support localization across the entire app. Although we do support localization, just not in our email, the content that's in the app. But this allows them to be able to put those in. So this is if you're not using this, I recommend start putting it in because this will go, especially if you have white labeling. The next thing that we have updated, it's coming out very soon, and you'll see it is, and so here's our collections. We're adding the ability to, inside of at the package level, be able to create mirrored content. Now, what is mirrored content? It is and this is coming out as soon as Dave finishes it. He's on this call. As soon as Dave finishes it, coming out very, very soon. Dave, when is it coming out? He may have already left. He didn't want to talk. Okay. It allows us to, yeah. He's like,
maybe.
Okay. It's going to allow you to create content, and then just at the package level. So when you go into your packages, let's pick my TAM account model package. Let me actually use the tool right. When I go into one of these packages, I will be able to build it, collect cards. I will be able to, at the collection level, designate whether I want it to be mirrored or not mirrored. Now, what this means if you give it to someone and it's mirrored, it means they have no ability to update that information. You are giving it to them, and you can take it away. Now, why would we do something like that? So that partners can create intellectual property that they can have and take away if you're no longer a client. So that is coming. That is something that's net good. And you can also combine that with stuff that you want to give for free that they need in order to use. So there's often those two things at the same time. So you can have in a package both mirrored and non-mirrored content. And it will be as easy as taking away. You'll go into your account. All you have to do, if I had an account, I'm just going to demo team, you just go boop, and that mirror content will go away when they're not on our account. So very easy to use and look at, and it's another way you can capitalize on intellectual property you have in order to create value for clients in a way that benefits you and them. Next, I've talked about journeys. I'm going to show you I think this is important. I'm going to go some logic. So you see my post. Everything I think I usually just type it out. So I'm just going to type this out so you see it, and part of why we're building journeys. So we are building journeys, and I believe this. Every company is actively building 2 products all the time, sometimes more. But there's one for internal, there's one for external. Both are limiting factors into your ability to scale. Both. They are a problem of creating, you heard me say, like a reoccurring value for your internal and external client. So external products look like this. You build onboarding. You have a CS team. You build how-to guides and knowledge bases. You create a ticketing system. You have academies. You create certification programs. Internal products, so you have an intranet. You get an LMS. You train using your PML tool. And so it's all that you're solving, and you're solving like for internal users. But like you look at, there's still these fundamental issues that I think are just fundamentally broken in how we thought about LMSs that don't reflect remote work, don't reflect how we actually consume and use products today. And that's why we started Supered at the beginning. So like, this is where, like when I say flagship, this is the point. And I think these are broken for a couple of things. We need the ability to create in-app training and the place you're working. And no company anywhere has an internal product that exists on one app. Nowhere. You go to HubSpot, you go to ClickUp, you go to Rippling, you go to where LinkedIn in order to prospect, you go to Apollo to get stuff, it never exists in one place, even across teams. So it must be cross-platform, and you must be able to go back and forth. It must always be accessible, and it must be proactively telling you when you're doing something incorrect, or help me remember how to do this thing. And it must combine multiple learnings: doing, seeing, reminding, checking, validating, and the ability to put all those in one platform and create the experiences across. Nothing exists like that today, but it will in February. So that's what Journeys is. Our partners will have the ability from day one, because we are a partner first, because we don't have an onboarding team. We only have partners. This is how we'll create end users to then to give to partners. And so like end users will want this, and then they won't be experts in creating it, and they'll have a partner. Some partners will already have journeys, and guess what they'll be? They'll be mirrored, so you can charge fees for having. So what we're starting to create is the ability to create services that leverages your intellectual property, where you can get adoption as the primary goal, regardless of system, and you can build your systems and give. So I'm very excited about it. I think it's, and there is nothing that does it today. And what Erin showed you today, you started to see the pieces. We were always going there. We just couldn't do it because we had to get the package builder done because we're HubSpot, because we're also HubSpot first. And it couldn't actually be done as well unless you can first build the schemas. Then now you can build the adoption. Because why did we do that? Because we like partners a lot. Because we wouldn't have done that if we were partners, if we weren't partner first. Okay. What is it going to look like? So we are opening up betas. It's, I guess, I don't know the exact time. It'll be in 2 to 3 weeks. We're opening up betas, maybe 4 weeks. But what it'll look like is you'll have on the left, there'll be a new journeys. You'll be able to, and you will actually create the entire journey from your Chrome extension. So it'll take you here and you will create the journey. You'll be able to use cards. You'll be able to create triggers directly from this experience. And when somebody's going from one trigger to the next, it's actually, because you actually can't create, like, do this button. It's too hard. Why it's too hard? Because individual companies change the UI too quickly. It's a very brittle system. So we have you're still using the same trigger system we have, and you can take people to different triggers. It will be like a lightning bolt comes on the screen, and it'll radiate, and it'll show people what to click next, and it'll be able to go dynamically across different screens. You'll be able to connect them cross platform. You'll be able to create videos inside. You'll be able to do submissions. We're even going to leverage process rules to do what? Validate that things have occurred inside of HubSpot. So you'll be able to create a journey where it says, do this contact, do this opportunity, and it won't actually be validated until the process rules have shipped, because we know that thing has occurred. Boom. That's awesome. That's like big. You can actually tell people if they've done something wrong or right, not just train them and have a knowledge check at the end. Okay. I think I covered the big things. Journeys is going to take a lot of our time, but you'll see some others coming up throughout that time as Dave's working. Before, I just want to stop because I know we have 2 minutes. Any questions or thoughts about what's happening?
I just want to point out that thinking modularly, like Erin had brought up and showed us, is going to be very key to what that journey looks like so that it's contextual for the end user. So getting your mind in that place and thinking through what you're already building, what you already have built out will be key to making that successful, for sure.
Absolutely.
And I do need a soundboard for Matt updates. You are not wrong. So I can push the button. Woo, woo, woo.
Yeah. Last thing, journeys, there will be no pricing updates with Journey. So if whatever you have, you'll immediately be able to use journeys day one. And there was not going to be a pricing update. It's just going to reflect, it'll be moved into per user seats on whether they have journeys or not. And we're thinking how we're pushing that. That'll be part of the beta on how we should go to market with it. But just to know, you get this, and you're not paying more money. You just got a lot more awesome. Okay.
Love it. Well, I appreciate, Erin. Thank you so much for walking us all through that and just letting us have a little glimpse into your mind. It's very helpful for everyone else thinking about what they're building out in Supered and with all their other systems. So thank you very much again.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for having me. This was so much fun.
Thanks. And if anyone wants to get in contact with you, is LinkedIn the best way to do that? Awesome. We'll make sure we get that shared out. And I hope everyone has an amazing day. Stay awesome. Stay super.
Adios, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
I will see you at the next Surge, February 8th. Stay awesome. Stay supered.